Hey, friends, you're listening to Why This, a podcast where a couple of food scientists learn why people love the things they love. Today's topic, you guessed it, is the Super Bowl. Welcome to Why This, as always brought to you by DraughtLab. DraughtLab helps food and beverage producers improve the taste and quality of their products with best-in-class sensory software, tools, and training. Visit draftlab.com to learn more or reach out to us on social media if you're interested in becoming a better taster. So it's Super Bowl week. I'm excited about it. I live in San Francisco and I've noticed that I've really given myself to sports more generally this year. And maybe it's because our team is in the Super Bowl and it's been kind of fun, or maybe it's just the, context of where I live. But I've been pretty excited about sports for the last couple of months, which has been fun to me.
Do you actually watch the Super Bowl, Lindsay? Like, how many Super Bowls have you watched total?
I think I tend to be traveling weirdly during the Super Bowl. So if it makes sense for me to be watching it, then I watch it. But usually it's like in a hotel or in a bar or something like that.
I remember I was on a trip with you during one of these, and you
Hmm.
only showed up when the halftime show happened, and you watched that very intently, and then you were gone.
Yeah, yeah. That sounds right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
a lot
sounds
of
right.
people.
My new sports fascination is it's new. It's just within the last year that I've actually been watching the sports, and I think it's just been fun to
The sports.
the sports. Yeah.
Yes.
It's been fun to be a part of this little subculture, which isn't sub at all. It's actually a pretty major culture. And of course I have some moral qualms and stuff about it, but I've kind of gotten over it and just given myself to the pure entertainment that is football.
Yeah, I think you and everybody else with the Taylor Swift,
Sure.
like a lot of worlds colliding. Not saying that maybe you, but a lot of worlds
Hmm.
colliding. So I get it.
Yeah, sure. I love the subplot love story.
Right. It's all drama.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Which is why we're talking today. We are going to talk about context, which is broadly something that's really interesting for sensory scientists. And you can kind of see why watching the football game in the context of a bar is going to elicit certain responses that maybe you wouldn't have in your home if you were alone. It would be kind of weird to be screaming at the television if you were at home and alone, but it's totally fine when you're at a bar with other patrons.
Yeah, and a lot of the companies that are making products that we work with, they want to make sure that they're making their product for exactly where it's enjoyed, so they kind of get the
Mhm.
the maximum impact for it. So the challenge in sensory is how do you actually replicate some of these context situations, especially if it's super unique.
Yeah, one of the first conferences that you and I went to together was the Pangborn conference. And we listened to quite a few lectures about context and how important that is in the world of sensory. Some of the research was about lavender aroma in banks and how that makes people feel more calm and more comfortable. And they actually kind of want to just stay for a little bit longer, which is partially why what banks want. So sensory scientists are kind of moving out of the lab and into the specific context that the product is supposed to be consumed. And I think that that's super cool, super powerful, and it makes intuitive sense.
Yeah, and it's a tricky one, right? So a lot of sensory tests we're trying to remove bias. So even like a perfect sensory lab is going to be white walls, nothing else to, influence what you're doing. But we are saying that there is this one thing that might influence it. So if you
Hmm.
wanted to test, you almost have to remove everything else, but just have that one piece of context. So it could be a tricky thing. I remember
Yeah.
we saw people were putting virtual reality glasses on people. Like they're in a white room, but then all of a sudden they're in a bar and then they're trying to drink with these glasses on. And then it can devolve into something else.
Yeah. What kind of behaviors do you find yourself getting into during the Super Bowl that you probably wouldn't be getting into otherwise?
Well, I think like most people, I'm probably going to eat a little more. I would, if a game's at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, if I were to have a beverage, I would never. But all of
Mhm.
a sudden, you just go ahead and do it, or you just
Mhm.
start, like you said, screaming at the TV if something's going on. I get together with my brothers for games all the time, and yeah, it's just we act differently than we would in any other social situation.
Yep, absolutely. In no other context would I opt into eating seven-layer dip, for
There you
example.
go. There you
Nobody
go.
brings seven-layer dip to, like, a normal dinner party. The only time that it happens is during the Super Bowl.
So we went through and we looked up Google Trends, other things online. Just what are some of the interesting context plays that can happen throughout Super Bowl, and with just kind of watching football in general. So a couple things came up, Lindsay, that were pretty interesting. So one of them was about the plates that you actually
Mm.
serve food on if you have people over.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely notice if I have a big plate, I'm gonna fill it, and I think that that's pretty well understood,
Yeah,
in the science world. So the small plates make sense. So I prefer small plates, and I also like to have like small things. It's easier to
sure.
manage.
Sure. Yeah, so spot on. It was the smaller the plate, the less people are going to eat. So if you need to move
That
that on.
makes
The other
sense.
thing was that if you had square plates, then people could fit more things onto it into the corners and things don't touch. So people would eat more with square plates, and then round plates, it's like always, it's like a bullseye, right? You have to kind of keep focusing on
Mm,
that one.
that makes sense. I'm sure some engineer has like come up with some calculation to figure out like based off of a surface area
It's like a
and
dodecahedron is the optimal plate or something really complicated. Right.
it's the next business.
Well, the other one they mentioned was if the color of the plate is red, then it ties more attention to the food that you're eating and might make you more self conscious
Mm.
about eating
Yeah, I
situation.
mean, we always use neutral colors for the most part, but of course, if you think about like a sensory lab, you generally think about red light, and
Right.
red light just obscures the ability to see specific colors of the food or beverages that you're looking at. So, yeah,
So we did some Google trends on some stuff, and we have some kind of interesting facts on Kansas City versus San Francisco. If you feel like playing that game for a second.
let's play the game.
So, number one food trend for California over the past year? What would you say it is?
Food trend for all of California?
Yeah, it's by state. So,
Oh, okay, interesting. What's been hot? I'm going to say acai.
ooh, wow. Good good
I mean,
pronunciation.
acai bowls don't really exist in Northern California, but Southern California, they're all the rage over the last few years.
Okay. Number one food trend, hummus.
Oh, okay. I mean, a classic.
Yeah. Now the challenge with Kansas City is across two states. So there was
Yeah.
a little bit of a challenge there, but do you want to take a guess as to what might be the number one food trend in Kansas City?
The only thing that I can think about is frozen custard.
Frozen custard. Why?
I mean, I have not spent that much time in Kansas City, but it felt like frozen custard was such a part of what everybody was interested in. Maybe I was there during the summer.
Yeah, well, I would have guessed some sort of a barbecue thing, but it was white chicken
Sure.
chili was their number one search.
White chicken chili.
It's kind of
I don't even know
interesting.
what that is. Is it just like using white beans in your chili?
Yeah, it's chicken, white beans. It would be more of a chicken stock, and then chilies and things like that, as opposed to like a
Sure.
deep red chili. You're New
Sure.
Mexico born. What is? So we then specified it on dips. So what would you say was the number one search to dip in California?
Ooh, in California. I'm going to say guacamole.
It's actually bean dip, but not
Oh,
out
sure.
of the realm. Do
Yeah.
you want to take a guess for Kansas City between the two states? There were two. So,
White chicken chili dip.
no, it was buffalo chicken dip, which
Well,
is
yeah,
great.
sure. Yeah, that makes
And then
sense.
a taco dip was actually number two. So the Super Bowl this year is being played in Las Vegas, which is its own context bonanza unto itself. You're going to be there in a few months, Lindsay. How are you
Yeah.
preparing for that?
Yeah, I'm going to be in Vegas for the Craft Brewers Conference in April, which is very exciting. I don't often go to Vegas. I have found that the way to do Vegas is really to just give yourself fully to it.
Oh, are you going to go to the Sphere? That's the sensory thing. You
Yeah,
going?
yeah. I would love to. I've given some pictures of like the inside of the Sphere, like the U2 concert, to a couple of my friends just to be like, "Hey, like look at this. Isn't this amazing?" And people have one of two reactions. Either, "Yes, that looks so amazing and like fully immersive," or, "No, I would get completely claustrophobic and freak out."
Oh, claustrophobic. Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
overwhelming,
It looks
honestly.
overwhelming. I think there are high chances of like freaking out. So I think you have to kind of know what you're getting into before you go.
Well, I heard a thing on it, and they actually have several quiet rooms around in the
Interesting.
place to pull people
Yeah.
out and to like
Yeah.
deprogram them. Okay, so the other thing we were going to talk about was commercials, right?
Again, like the Super Bowl is an interesting time because normally we turn down commercials and turn up whatever we're watching, but with the Super Bowl, it's reversed. We turn up the commercials and we turn down the game. Or we just keep it at a high volume the entire time. But we're devoted to watching the commercials because, of course, everybody throws their entire marketing budget at that one event to do the best that they can possibly do.
When I was kind of looking at the commercials, it's like a nexus of a couple different things. So one, there is the product itself and
Mm-hmm.
the sensory aspects of it, if it's food especially, or if it's beer or something, coupled with we have, the Super Bowl or this game setting where kind of anything goes. And then that final part, which is you're actually going to have people's attention during the commercial time, so it's not like you have to just like crank it up like you're a used car salesman and your volume is like 10 times as loud. So,
Yeah, good point.
thinking of those three things, what commercials kind of stood out? Because we kind of grabbed a list
Yeah.
of what was going to be coming up.
Yeah, it's interesting that you pointed out that the volume kind of doesn't matter quite as much because you don't have to grab people's attention. So I think some folks or some companies are kind of capitalizing on that. One of the commercials that I at least remember from last year was the ASMR Michelob commercial with Zoe Kravitz. Do you remember that?
Yes, I
It was
do.
totally quiet and like she was just kind of messing around with the bottle and like the foam, and so it was playing up on the sound of the product. And you could do that in that context because everybody was watching and it was memorable because it was so different. Yeah, playing up on the sound and playing up on the visual because obviously you can't be smelling and tasting with a commercial with an advertisement, so you have to evoke those kind of senses through just the vision and the sound.
Anything else stick out as we kind of look? What are you most looking forward to in this game, if not just a Super Bowl victory for the 49ers?
Well, of course that. I'm going to make my French onion soup, sour cream dip, and ruffles. And that's it. And yell at the TV with my partner, and my sister is going to be in town. So I'm looking forward to that.
Okay. This is going to be slightly unfair, but I'm still going to try it anyways. Lindsay, can you name me two players on the Kansas City Chiefs?
Mahomes.
Okay.
So
Yep.
we got that guy and
Yep.
Kelsey. I
Yeah.
mean the
Nailed it. Easy.
yeah.
Can you name three San Francisco 49ers? That's your team, so you should know at least one more.
Yes. Purdy, Bosa.
Oh.
Yeah. And what's oh the long hair guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what's his name?
George.
Oh,
George.
Kittle.
Kittle. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So those three guys. I like Kittle. He's fun.
Yeah, he's great. He's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Or who are you going for, by the way?
Um, I kind of, as a Giants fan, I more just wanted teams out of the playoffs, and I didn't want to
Sure.
see everyone else. I kind of root for evenly. I think Patrick Mahomes is amazing. So,
Mm.
although most people around me hate him because they're all Bills fans, I'm not a Bills fan. I like Patrick Mahomes, so I'm going for the Chiefs.
All right. Well, go sports teams.
Go sports.
Either way, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and I'm looking forward to debriefing with you about what kind of things you got into in this unique context.
Likewise.
Why This is produced by the team at DraughtLab, where we help companies demystify consumer experiences through flavor analysis. To learn more, reach out through our website, and of course, like, subscribe, do all of the things, and go sports.